Hey, Nick, you know what's the difference between a cheeseburger and a boner?
Let me guess. You don't have a cheeseburger right now.
Happy Hump Day.
Welcome to GayTalk 2.0, the ultimate podcast for your dose of dish.
Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. We are back. We are back. Happy Hump Day, and I have a feeling I'm going to fuck this up, but welcome, ladies and gents, to another episode of GayTalk 2.0, an LGBT podcast streaming live on Digital Stream Radio, where you can access that live stream every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can do so by visiting digitalstreamradio.com. And by the way, it's currently out. I don't even know if it's working behind me, so we're just going to worry about the live stream video for those who are on Patreon. Anyway, my name is Tom, and I am your host. I'm happy to be back after taking a week off. And as always, in the studio with me are my amazing co-hosts and friends, starting with the first one.
Hey, y'all. Nick or Trish.
And
J Bear, a.k.a. your boyfriend's boyfriend.
Your boyfriend's cheeseburger.
Cheeseburger.
It sounded a little like lustful right now, like your boyfriend's boyfriend. I was like, what is this? Let's blow her. No, but we're back. So our apologies last week. We made a change 2 weeks ago, going from a Monday format to a Wednesday format,
Which we're getting used to.
Right. It's been a whirlwind today to rush here and figure out how we're going to do everything, but we're doing it. But the interesting thing was that I had scheduled 2 appointments for my babies, for my doggies, a long time ago on a Wednesday, because I never did anything on a Wednesday before. And when I realized that those appointments were on Wednesday, I was like, oh.
Last week, Wednesday? Supposed to be our first day on a Wednesday?
Yeah.
Right, at 5:30 p.m. I was like, we can't do the show. I have to take my babies to get their shots and do all that stuff.
And I'm sitting in Florida by the pool reading a book, being like, all right.
She's like, okay, whatever. She was in the pool, but we're here. We're here, and the plan is to continue with Wednesdays, right? And that's it. And so we've got a couple of stories for you. We've got really good news for next week for you. Thanks. About time, Trish. But how are you, darling? How are you, Trish? You were in Florida last week.
Yeah, I'm good. No vacation is long enough.
Right.
I could have definitely used a little bit more time. Going back to work, it's just like catching up is crazy.
It's hard.
Yeah, but I had a good time. It was relaxing. There were some things that came up, of course, with my family, but
Which you always do.
but
I mean, so I want to talk about a little bit about.
One question. Hold on. Did you pee in the pool?
That's where I was going.
Sorry.
I wanted to talk about the list of things they left for you.
Okay, here, let me pull it up.
Yeah, pull it
pull
up.
it up.
Because this was hilarious. So this was a note they left you at the house.
Yeah, so my parents flew up and I flew down because they came up to see the baby, and I was like, well, no one's home. Why don't I watch the house / just kind of relax and sit by the pool. I saw my cousin, my sister. I mean, one night we,
Your cousin's hot, by the way. But anyway, that's besides the point.
But
Let's go.
one night we hung out by the pool, and then we're like, let's cook lobster and steak, and it was just relaxing and fun.
Okay.
But my dad, I said to him, I'm like, you're gone for a week, and I know things have to happen. The garbage has to go out. Just leave a list of things for me so that I know when to do stuff.
Right.
So number 1 on the list is bring out the garbage Sunday and Wednesday night. Number 2 is feed the fish a pinch of food twice a day.
Twice a day.
A week, and then the fish twice a day. That's too complicated.
The water will be delivered on Friday, August 19th. Put the empty bottles outside. Come on.
Do you put the empty bottles outside on Thursday or Friday, the same day they're to be delivered?
Thursday night.
Okay.
Use the BJ's card for if you need gas. Okay, let's pause here for a second.
Okay.
So here I am like, all right, great. No, I actually didn't need to get gas or anything while I was down there because I didn't do much driving. It's all pretty local with my family and whatnot.
Right.
But one day, the day before I was going to go up and pick them up at the airport, I said, Dad, did you actually leave the BJ's card? And he was like, oh, well, I thought your mom did. Your mom thought your dad did. I was like, So basically, you didn't leave the card for gas. So I had to put gas in the car, which is fine. And then he goes, all right, make sure the pool has water. If it goes below a certain amount, you have to put the hose in the pool, whatever. The pool guy comes on Wednesday. Don't pee in the pool.
Interesting. Okay.
6,
Have
long
you
guy.
ever peed in the pool?
We'll get there. Long guy comes on Saturday. All garbage in the green bin, not the black bin. Number 8, don't pee in the pool.
Twice.
Number 9, dishes should be clean. Number 10, please do the wash in the machine. So this doesn't end yet. So they also left me a birthday card. Enjoy your birthday vacation at the luxurious Port St. Lucie resort. I'm going to leave out the address. Don't pee in the pool. And so I posted that on Facebook, and I'm like, what is going on with this peeing in the pool thing? And my dad was like, I don't know. I just thought it was funny. But like so many times he even literally like called me to tell me not to pee in the pool. I'm like, Dad, I don't pee in the pool. Like,
what's your obsession?
I've never peed in the pool before. Like, is this a thing? Like, what happened to you?
Do people do that? Do you have like, you know how they put this solution
the
now where if you pee the water turns like blue or green or something?
No, they don't.
Oh,
but it was
Lord.
funny because when my cousin came over, we both jumped in the pool at one point because it was so hot. And as soon as he jumped in, he's like, "Oh shit, I gotta pee." I was like, "You can't pee in the pool."
Make sure you
and
don't
so
pee in
he
the
got
pool.
up and he ran around the back of the house and he peed out in the garden. And he came back. He's like, "I peed in the bird bath."
In the bird bath. Oh, those birds, they're gonna be drunk.
In the birds pool.
But it was just so random and so weird.
I mean, he was determined to pee in a pool.
Yeah.
And contrary to what your dad said not to do. So,
Yeah.
I mean, but hey, that's
That
awesome
was
though.
good.
Yeah, the
That was
weather was
cool.
good. It was hot, humid, right?
Oh my God. I literally, like, I would go outside and I would just start pelting sweat.
Yeah.
Like, thank God I could just jump in the pool. But it was like, my body is not used to that Floridian humidity and temperature in the summer. And it is like, you pelt.
Oh, I know. Shit sticks to you like your balls stick to each one of your thighs and all that stuff. I know.
Yeah.
I've been there. I was there in May and that shit was fucking humid and hot. I was like, oh, I can't even imagine what this would be like in July, August.
But funnier story. Well, actually, I don't know if it's funnier, but so I went. So the day that I was leaving, we had that barbecue for my birthday. So thank you very much for hosting.
You're welcome. And happy birthday, by the
Thank
way.
you for coming.
Happy birthday.
All over his face.
But so the next day, not that we really didn't like party hard or anything, but like whenever I have a really early flight, I can't sleep. I get anxious.
Right.
So I woke up. My bag was packed. Sort of. My bag was packed, and I was getting ready to go. I put everything in my car, and I'm halfway to the airport. Let alone the airport's only about like 6 minutes from my house.
Mm-hmm.
But I left at like 6:10 for a 7:00 flight because it's so easy to get through.
Right.
And I'm halfway there. I don't have my cell phone, so I had to turn around,
Oh, Lord.
go get my cell phone, rush to the airport. I like parked on the grass and I was like, Mom, you'll find it. Like, figure it out. And I get in there and I'm finally calmed down. I'm sitting at the gate. I'm at the wrong gate.
Oh, Lord.
So I run to the next gate and I'm the last one to board. They're like closing the doors. And the woman's like, did you pay for your carry-on? And I was like, no, I've never had to. They were like, well, now you have to pay for your carry-on. So I hand her my debit card to pay for my carry-on and it gets declined. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why is it getting declined? I had fraud on my account.
Oh, God.
So they shut down my card. So I gave her a credit card, whatever. Got on the plane. I had to have an expedited card sent to me to Florida. But while I'm on the plane, exhausted, like befuddled and confused, one of this like flight attendants who was very cute came up to me and he was like, have you flown with us before? And I was like, yes. He's like often? I was like, yeah, I've flown a couple times. And he's like, yeah, me and the flight attendants were all mentioning that you look familiar. And then he was talking to me and I was just so out of it. And I kind of just kept saying, yeah. And then eventually he walked away and the guy sitting next to me was like, that was a missed opportunity.
And I think I know who the flight attendant is too, but I just won't mention names.
No names.
Wow, that was an adventure. So then he gets to Florida. He has his wonderful little week by poolside and, and drinks and the whatnot. And he's ready to come home. And the bitch realizes she booked the flight back home on the wrong Sunday. Not the Sunday she was supposed to come back, the Sunday after.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. Well, so I'm sitting there. I'm sitting there trying to check in and realize that my flight is actually not until this upcoming Sunday. And I was like, oh, my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. Anthony's going to kill me. Like, I've got to be back in the office. Like, I can't really take any more time off. And the only flight that was, like, feasibly priced would be on the Thursday. And so finally, I eventually, like, I called them. They couldn't do anything for me. Then I started looking at flights to Bradley, and everything was like $500-$600 one way. Like, I'm not gonna pay that. Like, I'm sorry. Like,
and it's considered last minute booking, so they
Right.
break you in half.
Oh, yeah, they smack it to you.
So I called back Avello. I love Avello, and I was like, look, I know I messed up. Like, I booked the wrong date. This is completely on me. You have no responsibility to help me out. But I'm asking, as a frequent flyer, as a courtesy, will you take care of this for me? And the guy was like, all right, hold on one second. What's your full name? I gave him my full name. He went and looked. He's like, oh, yeah, you are a frequent flyer. Yeah, we'll take care of this. We will put you on tomorrow's flight completely free.
Wow.
Literally changed my flight completely free. Got me, like, a great seat. And I was like, okay.
So
Thank
tomorrow's
you,
flight, meaning still Sunday.
The Sunday I was supposed to leave.
You were calling Saturday because you realized you booked the wrong.
Saturday night.
Yeah.
At like 7:30.
I'm surprised they answered, but yeah, sure.
But, like, talk about customer service. He's like, well, the reason I put you on hold is because a lot of people tend to, like, exaggerate and say they're frequent flyers or whatnot, but you clearly are, and blah, 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 so we'll take care of this for you.
Yeah, one thing I know very well about this person that sits next to us every week, she is not an exaggerator. I mean, she does what she does.
If he says I've been there 3 times, been there 3 times.
Yeah. Best believe if he said to you that he came on your face,
He came on your face.
you wiped it
I
off
could
without
have joined the
realizing.
Mile High Club with a flight attendant. I fucked
You
up.
fucked up.
Yes, you
But
could have.
Now
Yes,
you know
could
for the
have.
next flight.
Not at 7 a.m. I'm sorry. I even had my travel douche kit, but I didn't have time for that shit at 7 a.m.
That's right. Because you took with you the new powder solution that Dr. G just recently introduced. I think we had it just behind us on the prompter here. Cool, but yeah, that's so hard to use in a bathroom.
I did use it while I was down there.
Oh, proud of you.
And it's great. It's just like the solution that you buy normally.
Right.
I loved it. It worked well.
And it's travel friendly. So I mean, you proved
Very
the
much.
theory.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And the DOP kit that it comes with, it's amazing. I love it. It's my new DOP kit.
Yeah, you can hide a lot of things in it.
My mom's like, what are these packets? Don't worry about it.
They're my vitamins, mother, for my ass.
Don't mix it with water, Mom.
Don't mix it with water.
At least not yet. I need to use that later.
Yep.
And Jay, how are you?
Good, not bad.
All is well in the land of Oz?
All is well. Not as exciting of a week away, I guess, but did some hanging out. I went to my cousin's wedding this past weekend.
This is your 3rd wedding in like 3 weeks.
This is
like stop.
This is my 4th wedding since like February.
Lord
4th
have
or
mercy.
5th wedding.
Oh, God.
This is the
People
last
know
one.
I hate weddings, so they just don't invite me. And I'm completely okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to go bankrupt because, here's the thing. So the average wedding cost, it's expensive, right? I mean, you can bang out 30 grand on a wedding.
Easy.
And each plate for each person that you invite can be anywhere between 1 to 150, possibly 175 per person.
Yes.
And especially in a time...
No, the plates, it's about $45-$50 per person, but...
drinks and everything else. So you have to bring a gift that's equivalent to at least the cost of your food and drinks.
Yeah, so normally for one person, it's...
You kind of try to cover
$100.
Yeah, you try to cover the expense of the plate and then double that.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
that's
And so...
$200 a pop for me every wedding.
Yeah, and it's like... You can go bankrupt going to weddings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave when my brother got married, I spent so much money when he got married between the bachelor party, but just between everything. You know what I mean? Being the best man.
Right.
And then I was like, I don't want to give a gift. And then I ended up giving a decent, cash gift. And Chris at one point said something when he was opening his card. He's like, "Oh, Nick, you spent so much money, you have to give anything." I was like, "All right, give it back." He's like, "No, it's in my possession now."
Have it now.
Can't have it back.
Wow, that's
yeah,
amazing.
It gets expensive.
Yeah.
But
And one thing that I always say is find power in the word no. It's okay to say no. It's okay that you don't want to attend or you can't and you don't need an excuse. Just no.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's why they send our SVP cards, which are very important, so that you can discreetly just say, no, I can't attend. You don't have to say it in front of anybody. You don't have to say it in front of the person. You mail them back a little card.
Yeah.
They even send you an envelope if they're nice.
If they're nice.
With like posts.
Okay, let me say, if you send an RSVP with a return envelope without a stamp, not classy.
Right. So
Yes.
That's just my opinion, though.
You're right.
I mean, that's just the etiquette, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The etiquette for it. But so it is what it is. But nonetheless, we had a good time.
Great.
We had a good time. Don't know what happened, but a few people got sick after.
Like food?
Food. I think they're saying it was something in the bar. Actually, the drinks, not the food. But quite a few people woke up with the bubble guts.
Oh, so they woke up the way I've felt for the past 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, yeah. So so my cousin had me down because he called me. He's in New York. He calls me. He's like, "Hey, how are you guys doing this morning?" And I'm like, "Oh, we're great." And he's like, "Dude, I had to sleep with a diaper on." And I was like, "What do you mean? What's going on?" I was like, "What kind of kinky shit are you into?" And he's like, "No, we all got home. We all got sick. I was like, me and my wife were both battling for the bathroom all night. All night.
That sounds rough.
So yeah, and I was like, "Ooh, sorry to hear that." But and
That hotel room.
yeah, so then my cousin, the one that got married, called me. And she's like, "Did you guys get sick?" And she was checking in on everybody. And she was like, we kind of went through everything and it came down to some drinks in the bar.
Right.
Because I guess some people didn't even eat. They were just hanging out drinking, and they also got sick. So I guess that's how they equated it to drinks. Don't know how they figured that out.
Definitely sounds like food.
Yeah, but I was like, all right, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I limited to what I did. I drank specific drink, and I ate very little because I didn't, I'm funky like that sometimes, especially when you're hanging out. I like to drink more than eat. So
Yeah.
Right.
ate a little bit just to get some food in me, but the rest of the night was just drinking.
Yeah.
But we were fine.
Which is not a bad deal
Yeah,
sometimes,
yeah.
you have to go through
Yeah.
those motions.
But all in all, we had a good time. It was a decent wedding. But yeah, the day after was when everybody was calling up and checking on each other.
So, I wanted to pose a question to the group,
Sure.
and I'm just trying to figure out how to pose it.
You scare me when you say things like that sometimes.
Yeah, I know. I scare a lot of people. So basically,
Does this look infected? No.
no. So I had a experience this past week and a half or so. A good friend of mine owns an establishment, and they had this is about cancel culture. All right. So they had I wouldn't say an altercation, but an interaction with a transgender female. Basically what had happened was this individual was pursuing heterosexual men in the bar, which is completely fine, whatever. And when one of the heterosexual men found out that she was transgender, this man got really angry to the point of a safety issue, right? And so
A safety concern for the transgender individual.
correct. So the individual who owns the establishment had pulled the person aside, and I'm not, we don't really know exactly what was said or what should have been said, but basically she had asked the individual to disclose if she was planning to move forward with taking someone home, or basically disclose that they were trans. And that is not something that you should say to any trans individual. They should not have to disclose that information.
Right. Straight people don't disclose, hey, I'm straight and I'm bringing some chick up in here home.
But when it becomes a safety issue, like how does one address that? But then on top of that, after that whole situation happened, there was a lot of social media backlash. I mean, the place is fine. It'll be fine. It'll blow over. It was handled correctly after the fact. And I think it was handled as best as it could have been in the moment.
Right.
But the reality is, when does cancel culture get too much? What is the appropriate way to handle a situation like that when you have, two separate patrons, valued patrons in an establishment that now you have a potentially unsafe situation? Like how do you move forward?
Who was the aggressor in all of this?
I mean, you could look at it both ways, right? Because you could look at it, as someone who was, pursuing something.
I mean, because what you had just finished describing in the beginning was this person disclosed she was transgender.
No, did not disclose.
Or the person found out.
Correct.
That she was transgender.
Right.
Through the grapevine?
Through the grapevine. Correct. So obviously someone was looking to stir the pot there. But then once this person found out that this individual was transgender, did this person become belligerent? Did this person become aggressive towards this individual?
No, that was also handled separately. What was this person very upset? Yes, very, very upset.
Then leave.
Right. But at the same time, like, when you have valued patrons coming into your establishment,
everybody can be a valued patron, but if you're going to sit there and not be an adult about finding out information that we see and hear about every day, it's an everyday common thing in our lives now. Mm-hmm. And if you can't handle that in a public space, leave.
If it were me, I think my reaction would have been more along the lines of, telling the person that was upset, like, you're more than welcome to leave. We would love you to stay. I'm sorry that you feel that way, but all of our patrons are valued, and we're not going to ask anybody to leave unless it gets,
Right. I mean,
and then I would also probably approach the other individual and say, I just want to let you know that this is probably not something you want to pursue. I hope you stay and enjoy your evening.
Well, and that's the thing, though. It's like, but you can't automatically assume that this person came to this bar just to pick up men, right? You can't
from my understanding.
Well, here's what I would. Yeah, we weren't there, but
right.
Let's play on the assumption side.
Right.
Let's assume that the trans individual has frequented the bar. Right. They have.
From my understanding. So
people would already. I mean, you know how it is at the bar when you have people that, when you're bartending and you. Mm-hmm. No, that so and so likes to have guys follow him into the bathroom every so often. You already know this guy's here for that, right? So same thing. I mean, whether it's a straight bar or a gay bar, you already know who your individuals are and what they tend to do.
Right.
So she may be trans and she may be looking for a straight man to take home,
or someone to buy her drinks,
or someone to buy her drinks. Regardless, you're already kind of aware of that. So that's already in the back of your mind.
Right.
Now, if you have a patron that comes in frequently and gets into an altercation with them, I mean, you definitely should address both, not just one.
Correct.
Address both, but I guess you become a bit biased because you already know she comes in here all the time and she tries this, and it's just a matter of time. So you kind of tend to,
but as
label
owner,
the individual right off the bat, it creates an issue for the owner too.
But as an owner, you put that on the patron. You found something out right now, and how you react to that, and how you take your machismo, your I'm a man, and this is who I am. How you handle yourself in a public space says a lot about who you are as an individual. And so, if this person. Someone came up, hey, by the way, just wanted to give you a heads up. This person is transgender. May have been said a different way. He could have just simply said, you know what? Look at they and say, this is not something that I want.
But
and walk away.
while I agree with you, you know that in our society and our culture, a lot of heterosexual cisgender men will not react that way.
No,
Right.
and then
that's why it becomes a safety
Then
issue.
we're talking about in a bar. So now you have alcohol on top of that.
Right.
Right. So now, yes, you are aware of what's happening, but you tend to overreact, and then, especially if you're under the influence, you're gonna have I'm sure it might have been a different outcome if the alcohol wasn't involved, but then again, you don't know what this cis man has gone through either.
Right.
You don't know his experiences, and then finding out. And again, like you said, how was it presented to him? Was it, hey, by the way, or hey, dude, you've been all over this chick all night, and it's a dude. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's also how it's presented to the individual.
Right.
That you have
And
to
that's
take
the thing.
all that shit into account.
You think about, the straight community and their reaction. Like, for example, I could totally hear another straight guy be like, do you know that's a dude? When in reality, no, that's a transgender woman.
Right.
And that's, and especially in the state that it happened, right? Where this happened, where the conversation around gay people right now, like, for example, don't say gay bill, and
not be too specific.
Can be very challenging in itself because of the culture in the state, right?
Yeah.
And so my thing is this. I wasn't there, but I will tell you that if the person becomes angry at what they learned and react in an aggressive manner, the owner or the employees of the bar should say, you know what, you're not in a state right now where you probably should be here, and then turn around and say, and as a result of what this person learned, you sort of kind of caused a little ruffle in the bar. You should probably leave today too. You're more than welcome to come back, but I think you both should leave. But I wasn't there, so I really can't speak to that.
I also think, like, I mean, we work at a gay bar. We've all worked at the gay bar,
right?
And
we have straight people come in all the time.
But I think at that point there's a difference, because you're straight walking into a gay bar and you're aware of this.
I think that there's a very big difference between a gay bar or a space like our bar, like a gay or lesbian or whatever type bar, versus a bar that is open and welcoming for all communities.
Right.
And I think that
but we welcome all communities.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, we're a little bitchy about it, like
100%. But like, even
for example, when a whole group of like young girls coming to celebrate.
But even if I were to walk into a bar that I know is very welcoming to all communities,
right,
even sitting there, if I was with somebody, giving them a peck would, it would be a second thought.
Yes.
Giving them a kiss on the lips would be a second thought. Whereas if I was at the gay bar, I wouldn't.
You don't think about it twice.
You don't think about it twice. And so to me, I'm like, well, if know the spaces you're in.
Right.
And I'm not putting the onus on anybody, but I think know the spaces you're in and make sure that you're keeping yourself safe, right, and keeping the environment healthy.
But it's not her responsibility to keep that environment healthy. It is their responsibility to educate themselves and the people that they could potentially, encounter in life. It's like you walk through life every day and you meet people of different, ethnicities.
The environment healthy was not exactly the right term. That's not what I meant.
And so, I don't know. It's a very touchy subject.
Yeah, it's a touchy subject. The times now, as is in general, just all
everybody,
these, and it doesn't matter what state you're in, you still have to, unfortunately, be aware of your surroundings. Period.
Right. And that's specifically true for people in our communities,
exactly,
and in our adjacent, sub communities. You have to be aware of the spaces that you're in, but also, it's time for us to stop being the responsible parties of making sure that businesses put that responsibility on us. You have a responsibility to all your patrons. Exactly. And so, this individual, again, I wasn't there, and if he reacted in a hostile way, he should have been asked to leave.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't necessarily think it was a hostile way. I think it was I'm very fucking upset.
And if you're upset, then you know what? Like most people, when you're upset, you leave. But if you choose to stay there and you choose to further keep yourself in that situation as a human being, aside from having altercations with other people, when you feel uncomfortable, what do? What should you do? Remove yourself from that
environment.
If you're not uncomfortable, it's fight or flight.
Yeah.
Right. And so
I think
they both
agree
have
with that.
an equal amount of responsibility.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, because even if they were not asked to leave, right, at that point the guy was already uncomfortable.
Right.
Now he continues to drink. Mm-hmm. That discomfort may become
worse,
and then that could turn into a violent situation. Right. So I mean, it's a matter of talking to the people, because people tell you, I'm cool, but technically they're not. You know what I mean? And again, depending on who they're with or who may continue to instigate that, it could become a much more aggressive situation.
So, dead horse beaten.
Yep.
Let's talk about cancel culture, right?
Yeah.
Because as a result of that, then people go on pages and on what's the one that
Yelp,
Instagram, or they'll go on Yelp, and they'll do all of this, and they start,
Twitter,
creating these mass hysterias of here's what happened. And the sad thing is that unless you were a person that was in that place or in that business, those people that are commenting, that are further perpetuating something, they have no clue of what happened. Like, I don't know what happened, so I can't comment. They're just bullshit. Mm-hmm. It's like, to me, cancel culture is just, someone being so upset that they have to let it out, and people running with it and turning it into something that it shouldn't be.
Yeah. And I'm sure there was an element of shame.
Right.
And 100% embarrassment. And I think that's what kind of stemmed this moment of cancel culture, which I don't necessarily think is actually going to stick or live on. But the reality is, it's like, when is it too much?
Yeah.
When is it, let's not slam this business that we've been going to for years, and let's actually have a conversation and talk to the owner. Let's figure out a way to actually make this make sense.
Right.
Like, make this.
Well, that's the beauty about keyboard warriors, right? They don't have to face the facts or face the truth or face what really happened. They just have to comment and hide behind the keyboard. And that's what makes this cancel culture to me so interesting, right? The dynamic of the fact that the majority of the people that take a comment or take a situation and run with it are doing so hiding behind a keyboard. They don't have the balls to walk up into that bar and say, I heard this happen here. Please tell me what you're going to do X, Y, Z, or to prevent things like this from. They don't have the balls to do that. So you know what? Your opinions that you write online behind your little keyboard where you can't put a face to it don't really matter. Mm-hmm. And you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. If you truly have a situation where you're upset with something, a business, an organization, show up at their doorstep and tell them that to their face.
Yeah, and I also, another thing that really bothers me is, like, the denigration of an individual.
Right.
Like, it's like, okay, you had a bad experience.
Right.
Something happened. It shouldn't have happened, or it wasn't handled correctly. But for all intents and purposes, and not everybody, I mean, maybe some people should be canceled, but, like, I think that before attacking somebody, I think everybody should have a moment to have a conversation, because for this specific individual, although I don't agree with all of their, opinions about certain things, they're in no way racist, homophobic, anti-trans. They are in no way, in no world, unwelcoming to any community outside of their business in general.
Right.
And to slam a business, but then take it even that one step further and slam a person who in no way would ever intentionally, pigeonhole or attack a community or an individual.
But that's the beauty of the art of canceling, right? They don't know anything about this person. They don't know anything about any of the employees in that bar unless you're a patron that goes there often. They don't know anything. And what they do is take what was said and run with it and hide behind a keyboard and continue to perpetuate and have this thing grow into something massive. But unless you were there and unless you're a patron of any business, it is just, unfortunately, in today's world, in today's social media world, the cost of doing business. You have to always think about in 20 different ways how something can go.
Yeah.
Because it's always going to end up online. And the only thing you can do at that point is, if you feel the need to apologize as a business owner, my apologies if I offended anyone, boom, boom, done, and keep it going. And eventually it dies like everything else. But I mean, it's tough. Cancel culture is tough. I can't say that I don't like cancel culture because we've sort of kind of started some shit on the show, right? When we talk about horrible people and how we feel like, they shouldn't be in certain positions. And so we all have the ability to be part of that. And I have at least. And so I have to recognize that. And maybe that's something that me as a person needs to work on. But I believe it's bullshit. In a lot of cases, if you don't really know the facts of what's going on, or what the the person who firsthand had this experience, if you don't know them personally, and you don't know anyone at the location where something happened, then you're just a warrior behind a keyboard, right? We tend to talk about politicians all the time and we burn them and we do this and, we need to cancel Trump and he's just horrible. I mean, with reason. But a lot of the things that we're doing, we have evidence, things that are said, things that are done, things that are public, that we can use to encourage someone to say, fuck Trump, for example. I'm just using that as an example. But unfortunately, it's just the culture that we're in. It's what we do today.
I know.
People don't do their homework. People hear something, right? For instance, I could be like, hey, Tom, did you hear Nick was in Florida and he got, a train run on him. And now he's sick, right? Tom,
we were talking about a train of men.
A train of men, yeah.
I don't even think
but
there's
anyway,
trains in Florida.
just for argument's sake, somebody else hears that, and here they go on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, there's this rumor going around, and I could have been just joking with Tommy, but somebody else heard that. Now they go online. Hey, be careful with this guy. He's sick, and that's how you end up getting these rumors started. Yeah. Same thing with cancel culture. I had a bad experience. That waiter was an asshole. I'm going to talk shit about them online. Right. And then what happens? Oh, yeah, I was there. Oh, this guy looks.
Yeah.
God forbid I go to Starbucks and they forget my cookie. It was the worst barista in my life. Like, she was like totally horrible.
She's homophobic.
She's homophobic.
That was a hate crime.
Yeah. And exactly. So, and that's how shit starts.
Right. And so unfortunately, as a business owner,
she wouldn't serve me.
Yeah. That's the cost of operating as a business. You have to be ready for that. You have to, be thick-skinned and let things roll off your back, because if not, you are going to be miserable and you'll probably end up closing your business. So that being said, that was a great conversation. Thank you. But we do need to take a break because we have a couple of things that we want to talk about on the other side of that. So we're going to leave you for a minute or two, and we will be right back. All right, we are back from our break. Thank you so much for sticking with us, and we're back. So that was an interesting first half of a lot of discussion, a lot of talk about, cancel culture, etc. So
gotta stop letting me pose questions.
Not at all. Not at all. It's been a while since we had a very in-depth conversation between all of us. because typically we're talking about stories that are happening in our community or that have happened many centuries ago, which leads me to one of the first stories that I'm going to talk about today. Mama Kim had sent us a story that was published on LGBTQnation.com. And it talked about a single grave. The single grave of a trailblazing gay couple just became an LGBTQ historical site in the UK. And the two individuals at the top of this story are Edward Carpenter and his lover, George Merrill. And I'm going to post a picture very quickly here of the both of them, just so that you all know, if you're watching the live stream video. This particular picture is circa around 1900. And so it's been over 100 plus years since these two individuals lived, and there is an incredible story here because this individual we're talking about, Edward Carpenter, moved to a town where a lot of working class people lived in, and he fell in love with a man and decided that at that point in time, they were going to openly be together and live together in the 18 somethings, which is it's a scary thing to think about.
18th and early 19th century.
Right. To think about how we live our lives today. We were just talking about this, right? How we go to spaces and we look behind.
We still clock things, yeah.
Right, and we have to make sure that we feel safe in spaces before we consider even holding hands or kissing people. And these trailblazers were doing this in the 18th and 19th century. So I think it's incredible. So Edward Carpenter was born in 1844. He knew that he was gay at an early age. In his diary, he cited that at the age of 8 or 9, and long before distant sexual feelings declared themselves, he felt friendly attraction towards people of his own sex. And this developed after the age of puberty. Well, after the age of puberty, it developed something a little bit more passionate to what he described as a sense of love. Another thing is that he talked about, where he studied. He had studied at the prestigious Trinity College at the University of Cambridge, where he developed romantic feelings towards his friend Edward Anthony Beck, who also served as Trinity Hall's master. And when Beck eventually ended their friendship, Carpenter was heartbroken. Nonetheless, Carpenter said that the work of gay American poet Walt Whitman caused a profound change in him, as Whitman urged people to find divinity in nature and within themselves rather than within the religious society. And that statement in itself, to me, resonates so much because, growing up as a Latino man, you're a Latino man, you're
Italian Catholic.
Right. We are taught that, or we grew up, knowing that in some way, shape, or form, Catholicism saw us as a sin, right?
Well, yes, but we also have to take into fact that we look. Men interpret the Bible, and when they interpret the Bible, they pick and choose what they want to denigrate, what they want to focus on. And if you look at the Bible, there's far more evidence of worse things that are far more normal in our society today than being gay,
like divorce.
Like divorce or eating fish.
Right. Or well, there's a lot of things that you can't do. Gambling. Yeah. So, I mean, so it's very interesting to me because when he says, again, I want to go back to the statement that he goes, it's interesting enough that you have to find a way to grow through this process and look at it in a sense of being one with nature rather than one with religion. And you can find divinity in both of them, right? Because there are people, for example, the pagans worshipped, natural events, right? They worshipped the sun. They worshipped the winter solstice and summer solstices as places and time of the year that signified certain good things were coming. For example, the high summer sun meant that, they would have, eventually they would have a good harvest of whatever it was that they were, growing at the time. And so they learned how to be divine through nature rather than through a church, which was interesting. And I think that's sort of the kind of thing that he was alluding to, that what he was saying basically is like much of all our talk around gay penguins and all of these other amazing, acts of homosexuality or evidence of homosexuality in the animal kingdom, that it is natural. It is something that you experience naturally. And for me, I was just like, wow, we talk about this on the show all the time.
But I also think that there's something to be said about the fact that, I always say that I'm not necessarily Christian or Catholic or how I was raised, but I do believe in some higher power. I do have faith and I do have hope. Right. What that is whatever I decide it is, right? And so if someone decides that they want to find, their faith in nature or their faith in whatever it is, I mean, I think that in itself is so powerful, and especially during this time period, to take a stance and say, like, I'm not going to believe in what the Bible says or what the men of the Bible are interpreting. What I'm going to believe in is the world that I live in.
Right. And in your experiences, right? Within that world. It's important to note that though Carpenter served in the Anglican ministry until he was 30, he gradually grew dissatisfied with the church and the university life. And he left both to begin publicly lecturing on astronomy, historic Greek women, and music, out of all things. Then he moved to a small town called Sheffield at the age of 31, where he encountered many workers. Historians note that his poetry around this time expressed attraction to these workers, which he, quote, called the grimy and oil base-smeared figure of a stoker and the thick-thighed, hot, coarse-fleshed young bricklayer with a strap around his waist.
Hello.
Those descriptions sound so hot. As such, it's hardly surprising that at age 47, he met and fell in love with Merrill, a working-class man who, unlike Carpenter, grew up in the slums and had no formal education. The couple met on the train after Carpenter returned from travels to India, and Merrill worked numerous blue-collar jobs at a newspaper office, a hotel, and as an iron worker. 7 years after meeting, the two men moved in together into Carpenter's small farm home in Millthorpe, Derbyshire. There, Merrill officially served as Carpenter's servant, cooking, cleaning, and decorating their home in fresh flowers. Carpenter liked Merrill's baritone voice and enjoyment in singing comical songs. Carpenter once wrote of him, George in fact was accepted and one may say beloved by both my manual worker friends and my aristocratic friends. Aristocratic. I'm Latino. It's hard.
I'm white.
And she gets it. So it's interesting. It just fascinates me, right? That we're reading a story that goes back, in a couple of decades, it'll be over 200 years old.
Well, I think if you look at history in general, I mean, like, there are ebbs and flows, right? I mean, you see in history where, homosexuality was accepted and kind of celebrated, and then it peaks where it's like criminalized and now we're back into a peak. Well, we were in a place where it was starting to get back to a very healthy place. Well, at least in this country and some relative countries around us. But we see a lot of ups and downs when it comes to homosexuality and the acceptance of them, especially in social circles throughout history. And so I think that's really interesting to think that not only was he accepted by the aristocrat, which would be the very, very rich, wealthy individuals, but also by, what you would consider your redneck manual workers that are, working in the yard, working on the fields, working in the mines. So somehow he was able to bridge a gap that still today we face and have, especially with Trump, have yet to bridge.
Right. Merrill better work. He was awesome. It's important. It's interesting that you mentioned that, because it says their living openly as a gay couple was especially notable considering that at the time the United Kingdom had laws punishing buggery with prison time. Famed Irish playwright Oscar Wilde was placed on trial for homosexuality in 1895 and shunned by society. Countless other men had their lives ruined under similar offenses, but despite this, Carpenter openly defended same-sex relationships in his 1895 book called Homogenic Love. His 1896 work Love's Coming of Age and 1908 creation The Intermediate Sex, calling same-sex couples not only natural but inevitable.
I want to read all three of those books.
So we should probably hop on that. Yeah. The books generated controversy, even leading one of the Carpenter's neighbors to report him to the Derbyshire police. The police pledged to keep a discreet watch on him and his activities. Whatever resulted of that, who knows? But you're right. I think we should probably look into those 3 books.
I mean, I thought also what was interesting in this article was Edward Carpenter was called the gay godfather of the British left.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this, Mr. J? Can you imagine living yourself as a bisexual man in the 1890s?
I'm sure he could.
That would be even easier because you got your wife to cover your endeavors.
I mean, you have that today.
yeah.
But
You could do the same today, right? It's an interesting story. I mean, it's, and then you look at how the 2 men were completely different, right? One was well educated, went to school, had a career. The other one was a laborer, so on it, no higher education. And at that time, when you're looking at laborers, most of them didn't have any schooling or very little schooling at that. So they were totally opposites. And as they say, opposites attract, right? And then we were chuckling when you were reading, he did the cooking, the cleaning, and the decorating. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that was definitely, we already know who's the bottom. No,
well, not necessarily. I cook, clean, do all that stuff.
It was like, George, go outside and take care of the house.
Take care of the house.
Go chop outside. Some wood, dude. Winter's coming.
Yeah. But that's an awesome story, though, especially to see that, that far back and no fucks given, basically.
Right. So unfortunately,
we a couple, and that's that.
Right. And the interesting is that unfortunately Merrill died in 1928, and in May of the same year, Carpenter had a paralytic stroke, and after 13 months, he also died as well. The men's gravestone reads, which means that they were probably buried.
They have one gravestone.
Right. It reads, "Do not think too much of the dead husk of your friend, or mourn too much over it, but send your thoughts out towards the real soul or self which has escaped to reach it. For so surely you will cast a light of gladness upon his onward journey and contribute your part towards the building of that kingdom of love which links our hearts to heaven."
Links our earth to heaven.
Our earth to heaven? I read hearts. I'm sorry.
Well,
Thank you. That's what I have you for.
But I can hear that. I mean, it was, 2 hearts. I think it's kind of a beautiful quote.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful quote. And I think that it really speaks to the fact that, he's talking about our husks as our bodies, and, we leave our bodies, right? But reality is we are always concerned about what is heaven? What do I have to do to get to heaven? And in this quote, what I'm taking away from it is that we're all okay. We're all finding our way on this earth, and that we're all trying to reach that place where true kindness and love can live, and that is heaven and earth. You know what I mean?
Right.
How does earth find that true kindness and love when we're all trying to reach that place where it's
divinity and nature?
Yeah.
That's a perfect example
Right.
of how you connect divinity and nature.
Yeah.
It's somewhat walking along those lines of your religious beliefs, somewhat, and what you're actually doing. So
Right. And it's important to recognize that, you know, this single grave for these two trailblazing individuals is now an LGBTQ plus historic site.
Yeah.
Right. And that in itself is powerful and beautiful. And it just makes me think that, for example, in order for us to have the right to make decisions for our partners, we had to have marriage equality to be able to do that, or have some sort of power of attorney, or have some sort of you know, lawful control of someone's final resting place and wishes. They did it in early 1900s, and they were able to actually be buried side by side, you know, and do it together. And today we have to jump through legal hoops to be able to do that as couples.
Not really anymore.
Not anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
that
No,
all
I know.
depends
Yeah,
on
yeah,
you
I
know what happens politically, but it just goes to show you that, you know, where there's a will, there's a way. And this story today really like gave me all the good feels.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful story.
You know?
It is.
So that's all I have. That's all I have for you folks today. And all right, we wanted to talk about and again, Latino person. I'm gonna apologize in advance, but I want to give my homegirl Trish over here claps. We have a guest for next week.
We do. Wait,
I know we're not there yet, but I'm just excited that we have a guest. So when we do,
I did my job. Get
yes.
it? That's why I got claps.
Bravo. But when we do go through the process of what we're about to do next, which is, you know, do our closing and normal stuff, we might butcher
I think I got it.
the last name.
I think I got it.
So forgive us. We're going to work very hard over the next week, but we do have a guest and we're excited. And he's a fellow podcaster. His podcast is very interesting and we're super excited. So thank you, Trish.
Yeah.
So anything else before we bring it home?
Well, did you want to talk about that thing that I showed you earlier, or is that too heavy? Should we just close it out?
Hold on.
You know what I'm talking about.
What you sent me.
The senator thing.
Why don't we pick that up as
Next week?
our beginning for next week?
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely too heavy. And
Yeah,
that's going to lead
agree.
us into
Yeah.
another, 30-minute
agree.
tangent.
Okay.
Especially with you because you're worked up about it. So,
Slightly.
okay. So, all right. Well, why don't we bring it home? I'm going to toss it over to my children. I feel very motherly today. So I'm going to start off with Trish and Mama Kim's Minute. Do you want your love?
Yeah.
Did you miss your love?
Kind of.
All right, here we go.
All right, everybody. Here is Mama Kim's Minute. I'm going to screw up her last name.
Whose?
Anne
Heish.
Heish. Okay. Ellen and other celebrities lovingly remember out actress Anne Heish. Flamingo dad adopt chick abandoned by biological parents. Why didn't I read that earlier? I would have talked about it.
Dads.
Oh my God, that's
That
so
one.
cute. Gay Realtor launches website to help LGBTQ Texans flee the state.
Yeah, we'll
nice.
have to. I would really want to read into that and figure out what that's about, because that could be something that could potentially.
You read into that, and I'll read about the flamingos.
Okay. All right. So that'll be something that we can probably work on. We'll have the links for these stories on tonight's post, so you guys can click on those as well. And now I'm going to toss it over to Jay for On This Day in Gay History.
Oh boy, here we go.
Oh Lord,
So-
there's a lot of words. A lot of
August
grown-up words.
24th, 1953, here in the good old US of A, summary of Kinsey Report of Female Sexuality published in Time Magazine. Damn, Time Magazine goes back that far, huh?
Oh yeah.
You old girl. Ahead of the September 1953 full release of Sexual Behavior in the Human Female, the magazine reports set of the biggest and raciest commotion the world press has seen in years.
Wow.
That was
Interesting.
short, but
Well, that's all it had.
yeah. So I guess they were discussing any sexuality at that time was
risque.
was a risque
Especially
thing.
in
so-
the 50s.
I think it was. This was prior to the Kinsey scale actually being released.
Yeah.
This was published, so it was pretty racy,
Yeah.
especially when talking
Controversial.
about females and.
Right. And you think
Sex.
about,
And
sexual
sex.
liberation
Ooh, yeah.
of the 70s. That didn't start proliferating until like the late 60s into the early 70s.
Can you say that word one more time?
No, thank you. I will cut you. Proliferating.
Ah, good job.
Yeah. I'm sounding out my, what do you call those?
Words?
My words, sounding them out. No, but what do you call them when you break them up?
I don't know exactly what you're talking about.
When you break
Syllables?
up words and you
Pronouns?
no, not pronouns. So pronouns
Syllables?
are personal. When you break a word up and you sound out their individual, like, I don't know, syllables, consonants.
I forget.
There's a word for it.
I was bad at English class.
Ginglish?
In English class.
Yeah, I know.
That's a miracle I graduated.
Yeah, when you break down a word and you try to sound it out, there's a specific, there's a term for that. And I can't remember what it is, but that's okay. It's not important, at least not for me. I'm Puerto Rican and get away with it.
And now here's time with our announcements.
All right. Well, if you love the show, make sure you go subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcasting service. By doing so, you get the latest and greatest of our show delivered right to your web browser or your device as soon as our episodes are published. You can also support us on Patreon. That allows you, our listeners, to support the show with a monetary donation, which we collect monthly and can be in any denomination of $1 or more. Oh, God. Good luck, Jay.
Next week, we welcome JP Der Bogosian, I believe.
We tried.
Bogosian. Yeah, Bogosian. Right? Sounds about right.
We're gonna run with that for now.
We're gonna run with that. Sorry if I screwed it up, but host of the Queer Book Saved My Life. No, host of This Queer Book Saved My Life, a weekly podcast that is the only interview podcast of its kind. It features an LGBTQ guest sharing the queer book that had a life-saving feature in their life. When they bring in the book's author for a conversation about the book as well as living as a queer person in the world.
Yas, queen. And so for all of you watching the live stream on our Patreon, you're seeing a picture of the individual that will be joining us.
Phonetic. Yes, thank you.
You break it down and you
Phonetically.
Yes. Thanks, Trish. I knew you would find it.
I didn't actually find it. It just
Somebody,
came to me.
it came in me.
So
You said it came in you?
So we have that guess, but phonetically we'll figure out how to say his name.
Right. We broke it down. So Der Bogosian.
Bogosian.
Der
I think
Bogosian.
that's what it is. It's JP Der Bogosian.
I believe so, yeah.
And if it's not, he'll correct us next week. We're a hot mess right now. All right. We took 2 weeks off, so it's like, forgive us.
We gotta get back on track here.
All right, and here's here's Nick with our weekly reminder for all of you bottoms out there who want to keep your buttholes on point. Yes, we are talking about the incredible product that is the Future Method. I'm going to toss it over to her. Let me give her some love and love.
Thank you. All right, everybody, get the Future Method today. Each time you clean out with water or enemas, delicate tissues are harmed and cells are damaged, increasing chances of injury and or STDs. The first of its kind doctor-developed formula gently cleanses before you play without hurting your bum. Visit futuremethod.com to purchase your life-changing bum cleanser today.
Yes, queen.
And as always, we are going to put a ring on it.
Are you sure about
I
that?
think it's a cheeseburger today.
Yes. It is.
Yep. Our show is available on our website, GayTalk20.com, under audio podcast. It is also available as a free download on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher Radio.
Yes, queen.
All right, you can find us on social media, Facebook, GayTalk 2.0, Instagram, GayTalk 2.0, Twitter at GayTalk20. You can email us at GayTalk2.0 at GayTalk20.com. Tom, it's your turn.
I just burped. My apologies. Did you hear that?
That's not what you're supposed to be reading.
Oh, all right. Well, if you need to reach out to us, just head on over to our website, click on the Contact Us tab located at the top of your web browser. There you can leave comments, suggest a topic, submit a question for the cast or an individual host, and you can also call us if you'd like. Our phone number is 334-GAY-TALK. Or if you need all the digits, it is 334-429-8255. Don't forget that we do stream live every Monday.
Wednesday.
Every Wednesday now at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can access that live stream by visiting digitalstreamradio.com. With that, ladies and gents, it is glad to be back. Thank you so much for joining us. And y'all have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of GayTalk 2.0. Tune in next time for more dish.